We're on board the trolley car that operates now as a tourist vehicle along the banks of the historic Yukon River. And as you can see now, we're coming into the old White Pass train station. This is where the White Pass and Yukon route train from Skagway would end its run. Usually took about 8 hours, I think, coming up the hill and coming up the White Pass Hill along the tracks, past Carcross and on into Whitehorse. And this was the end of the line for many, many years. It began in 1900. The first White Pass train rolled into this station, and it ran for many years. Matter of fact, went out of service as a passenger and freight operation sometime in the 80s, and now, luckily, has been replaced by this wonderful operation, the trolley car, using the old tracks. The tracks you see now are the ones that were used by the White Pass train. And ahead of us, well, the train would stop here and then carry on and do a turnabout a little further down, because that is definitely the end of the track. The horn, well, maybe it sounds like the old White Pass train sounded way back when. The tracks you see were part of that White Pass system, and what a system it was. It was one of the engineering feats of all time, certainly in northern Canada. Was built by a guy named Michael Heaney. Michael J. Heaney was born in Ontario, became a railroad man at an early age, eventually ended up in Skagway in 1897 or 98, and convinced some British financiers that he could build a railroad over the imposing White Pass summit. They didn't believe him, but Heaney was pretty convincing. He was an Irishman, and he convinced these British moneymen that he could do the job, and he did the job, and the train was rolling by 1900. Missed the height of the gold rush, of course, but certainly took part in hauling a lot of gold out of the Klondike being about 450 river miles from here. So the gold would come down those old river boats and be offloaded here and loaded onto the train and taken to Skagway and put on boats there, and a lot of it ended up in Fort Knox. Yeah, Fort Knox, where all the American gold is stashed. A lot of the gold you'll see there, if in fact you could ever see it, came from the Klondike.
Give you a little bit of a history in a nutshell about the Whitehorse Waterfront Trolley. It was built in 1925 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and then it was shipped to Lisbon, Portugal, where it ran for 51 years in the Lisbon Electric Tramway system. They retired the car in 1976 and sold it to the Minnesota Museum of Transportation, which is where we got it in 1999. Everything in the car is original with the exception of the seat covers and the 3 overhead lights. Those were added later on, but other than that, everything that's here is the way it was in 1925, and that includes the 225 horsepower electric motors from GE that power the car. And this is one of the last cars ever built with this configuration. Most of them were dome-top cars. This car is what they call a Claire story. And that's pretty much the history of the Whitehorse Trolley in a nutshell.